This is the Banyan house. It is a bed and breakfast. This home is a historical home, the Cosgrove House from 1872. And Captain Philip Cosgrove was a wrecker and a sponger, and he was also in the Coast Guard. The family lived here until 1947, but it is now a timeshare property. But this tree is just magnificent. Look at this banyan tree. It stretches all the way across over here, and its roots come down and form these other trunks. So this tree is just lovely. I love it. To come here and film this to show you this tree. There's the Cosgrove House, which is a bed and breakfast today. The house next to it is also owned by the Banyan, and it's the Delaney House of 1898. And also a wrecker and a fisherman. And these are kind of the founders' homes. There's a lot of very, very big homes in Key West. And there's a lot of little shotgun houses too, what they call shotgun houses, which would be like servants' quarters. And there were people that did have slaves down here. Here are from the Caribbean, Haiti, and the Bahamas, and Jamaica. So it's a little bit different atmosphere down here. It's not what you would see in the inner city. Very, very different. And then, of course, Cubans are all different colors, and there's a mixture of different ethnicities. So there's lots of different kinds of people in Key West, and I just love it. Post office of Key West, and not very many people would do that on their tour, but at the post office you can always find lots of roosters. And the roosters are all over Key West, and I just love them. I'm going to try and see some more later. I actually rescued about 20 roosters from Key West, took them all to the vet, and set them free in Utah a few years ago. That was another story in the saga of my life and my adventures. These guys are absolutely beautiful. They're former gamecocks. People from Cuba brought these birds. Cockfighting does still go on, but for the most part these guys are wild, and they can be a little bit territorial. They are at some of the restaurants and they'll dive bomb on people and come in your doggy door and roost in your Christmas tree. They know how to cross the street. They're extremely smart, and they're really, really hard to catch. They are aggressive. They'll attack cats, dogs, and they don't take any crap from anybody, but they're absolutely beautiful. I love them. There's some more roosters at the post office. This is a really pretty one, the speckled one over here. They got their hens here, and there's another one over there. I know people think I'm crazy for following the chickens around, but if you watched my American Made video, you know I spent a lot of time watching chickens when I was a little kid and copying the things that they said to each other. They're really, I think, fascinating to watch because they make little sounds to warn each other. But the roosters basically watch guard for the hens. The hens, they just pretty much do whatever they want. They're very spoiled. They just eat, and the boys just watch over them and let them do whatever they want. But when they want what they want, they get it. They'll beat those girls up. And they just got their eye on her, but they're not afraid of her. They're just watching her and watching me and seeing if we're going to bother their hens. And we're not. We're just coming over to say hi and say, you just look gorgeous today. You do. Look how pretty you are. Look at you. You're beautiful. And people that think that roosters don't get along with each other, that's wrong. Those are all males. Some are a little bit younger than the other ones, but they do naturally get along with each other, but they do stake out their little turf, so they might run each other off, but they don't get as aggressive as in cockfighting. They train them to do that stuff. These guys can live together just fine without our interference. Bye, guys. We're at mile marker 0, probably one of the most photographed places in Key West besides the southernmost point. Mile 0, Florida Keys, Scenic Highway, begin US 1. Is the southernmost point in the United States. We're actually 90 miles from Cuba here. We are closer to Cuba than we are to the mainland United States. There are a lot of people from Cuba and Haiti and the Bahamas, like I said before. Beaches were segregated here, and this was where the black fishermen kept their boats and did their fishing and stuff. There's a big group of bikers up there getting their group picture taken. Two places when I lived in Key West, one in Old Town and the second place here in Key West Marina. On the other side of the beach there was a place called Houseboat I. The last big hurricane that came a few years back destroyed a lot of those houseboats, but a few of them survived, including the oldest houseboat in Key West, one of the first ones that was ever put out there during the time of the Bay of Pigs. It was built here in Key West. The woman was a widow and she had it built, and it survived the hurricane, and it was brought here to this harbor. My girlfriend bought it and then she sold it to me. So I lived down here on this dock on a piece of his Key West floating history, and I sold it to somebody, and so I'm going to walk down there and see if any of my old neighbors are around and look at the houseboat. We're not allowed to fish here in the marina. So we get a lot of huge tarpons that come in, and here it is. My little yellow house. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It looks like it's been changed around. The little porch is gone. There's a hatch on the top, and from the back porch you can come up here and sit on the deck. The bike rack. The two bike garage. And I'm going to knock on the door and see if anybody's home. It's got a nice bathroom. It looks like she replaced the windows. Looks nice. I installed this gate myself because there used to be a little yard out here for my dogs. And I actually put up this fence and these pieces of wood to have a rail. There was a time where a lot of people just moored offshore and just lived out there. They have some laws about it now. It's getting a lot more strict. You can't just be a hobo with something that floats in the water anymore, you know. This one's actually sunk several times and been raised, and I see it's under major renovation right now. Having a slip here is just like having gold. At the beach, rent a chair. This is the beach where Tennessee Williams swam every morning. And there's a small pier at the end. The water's really shallow here, and it's very well posted not to dive off the pier, but every year at spring break there's always somebody that thinks they can do it, and we read about them breaking their necks in local paper. But that is what happens when you live in a tourist town. People come here and they do things they normally would not do when they're at home, and they take risks that they shouldn't take. So it's a little bit different when you live here and you see the tourists coming in and out and the things that they do. They're out of their element. Southernmost house, it's down the street from the Southernmost point. So it is owned by the Ramos Lopez family, and it is a historical house. It is now a hotel and museum. When I first moved here, it was just behind locked gates, and the one remaining Ramos person, family member, kind of was a shut-in there. So it was always just something you took a picture of, but the gates were never open. But today, they have a museum, and they have rooms, and they have like a beach area, and it's a beautiful home. There's a lot of big, beautiful homes here. Duval Street, where all bars are, Sloppy Joe's, Captain Tony's, Rick's, Dirty Harry's. Hog's Breath is down the street. It gets really crazy here there's always some kind of festival or some kind of fishing tournament or power boat races or Fantasy Fest, where it's like Mardi Gras, and this place is just packed with people, and half of them don't have their clothes on. And when you live in a historic town, there's always construction going on, so it gets pretty wild down here. If you've lived here for very long, it's like the last street you come to, you avoid it at all costs. The original Sloppy Joe's where Hemingway drank from 1933 to 1937, now called Captain Tony's, another character of Key West who passed away in the last couple of years. This is the bar that they were talking about where they were going to raise the rent $1, so all of the customers picked up furniture and they moved it. Never closed for business. So this building, where Sloppy Joe's still exists, there's a speakeasy in the back. Not very many people know about it. If you're a local, you know how to get up to the speakeasy. Sloppy Joe's is a landmark. It's always packed.